But one of the ones I did early on last year was an Overwatch dev update. And this was a second video, um, basically after uh, uh, I had gone and talked about the. This was back in Overwatch 1, and I talked about uh, what they were doing with Overwatch 1. There was no content coming in, there was a big drought from like at that time, I think it was 2 years that we hadn't got any content from Overwatch 1. And all this talk about waiting for Overwatch 2, and then just general subjects I had about that. And also it was to do with a company update or something like that. And then later they did, they were really terrible at communicating beforehand. But at one point, Aaron Keller posted a quick update after that, and then I sort of compared that to what I had seen before and what I was and seeing if my like comments still held up, knowing that they had talked about some of these issues, and now, and also I had another big commentary about the situation with Bobby Kotick and all of the allegations and lawsuits and stuff about harassment. So what I want to do today is talk about the current. I was getting a little bit. I think a lot of people are stopped talking about the current situation in Overwatch 2, but I'm going to mention it again just as a tie-in to looking at my previous comments about it. And so the current situation with Overwatch 2, I don't know if you've heard, you probably have if you're into Overwatch, that the company has decided not to do the PVE component they had been talking about with all the leveling and all the different skill trees and having sort of a long campaign story that was going to be using the Overwatch characters and having a skill tree for each character and all this stuff, blah, blah, blah. It was going to be like a very big, in-depth kind of Diablo-style game. And it turns out that costs a lot of money that they're not willing to spend on a game that is kind of one of their flagship games that's been really had a lot of fan support, even though they've kind of been screwing it over for the past few years. And then when Overwatch 2 came out, they were calling it 2 because the 2 was going to be the PvE component. And when Overwatch 2 did come out, they finally had to release something because they've been 3 years without an update. And they finally released Overwatch 2's PvP component, which was basically only a couple things. They changed the number of people from 6v6 to 4v or 5v4 5v5, and with that they did a bunch of changes to remove a lot more of the crowd control abilities from the characters, and they did a bunch of upgrades to the art and the engine behind it, and some of the events and stuff were changed. They basically redid everything with a new engine. They made it free to play, and they put in a bunch of things like battle passes and got rid of the loot boxes. So a bunch of changes that were good and the game needed, but could have just been done in Overwatch 1. There was really no need to call it 2 at that point. And then the other thing they did was they kind of messed with the ranking system. And the one thing that was kind of okay in the original game was the ranking system, except that the stupid thing is you're getting rated on a rank that is highly dependent on what your teammates do, more so than what you do, unless you're a total smurf or like a really good player that you can just carry the other team members. But in 5v5, that's a lot harder to do. And also, they've decided that in Overwatch 2, for the first 3 seasons, they wanted to make it, I don't know why, but they wanted to make you have to seem like you're climbing or you're ranking up, even though your rank is probably going to mostly stay the same if you're a skilled player and you're in one of the middle ranks. So they decided to lower everybody's rank artificially because they don't show SR anymore, which is your skill rating, and they never did show MMR, which is your multiplayer matchmaking rating. And so with that, they didn't really reduce your MMR. They only would make your rank fake look like it's lower, and then as you play the game some more, your rank will kind of naturally gravitate back to where it should be, and then you'll seem like you're making progress. But what that did is kind of threw a bunch of people under the bus and down into ranks that they couldn't really get out of. This happened way back in Overwatch 1 and Season 2 or somewhere around there, where we were forced down by like, I think 500 or 1,000 SR down into a lower rank. And when that happened back then, I wasn't very skilled at the game in the first place, but I was at least still silver. And when I got pushed down into bronze, I got so kind of both demoralized by that, and also like made me kind of not want to play the game anymore. I almost quit. And then I said, okay, I'm going to just try and see if I can learn this game, get really good at it, and be able to get myself out of that hole that they had put me in. And it turned out that was really hard. I got out a couple times in some of the earlier seasons, but then fell right back in due to a lot of smurfing and griefing and players not really caring about the game anymore, especially near the later seasons. So this kind of stuff just compounded itself and just made it really hard to get out. So when Overwatch 2 came out, I was hoping they were going to do something better, but instead they put in this sort of fake deranking system. Instead of an actual, like, if they're going to put you down in that rank, they should at least let you play with like other players that are not as good as you, so you have a chance to climb back up really easily. But that's going to make the experience bad for those players, and also for people who don't care to like go and stomp on noobs. So I think the system was just really dumb. You're still fighting against the same players' skill rating from your MMR, but you look like you're in 2 ranks lower than you should be, or even more in some cases. And so it really felt crappy to me that you had to work a whole season to get your rank finally up to, for in my case, silver, and then the next season they just take it all away from you and you got to start over again. And after 2 seasons of that, like the second season when that first happened, I was like, fuck this game. I don't want to play it anymore. It's back to the what happened in season 2 of the original. And then I just stuck it out a little bit longer because at least the CC was gone and it was a lot more fun to play the game. The 5v5 meant you had more impact individually on your team. Tank was a really fun role to play, which is one of the ones I really liked. So I stuck it out. Season 3, I got in, the D-rank happened, I was really pissed about it again, but I said, okay, I'm just going to go through. Then in Season 3, they announced they weren't going to do it again in Season 4. They were just going to set you at your rank and let you go. So then I was like, okay, I'll hang on a little bit longer. And then they got to Season 4, and something weird happened with my rank and a lot of other people's ranks, and they went down anyways. And some other weird stuff happened that people were unable to rank up. And so this happened also to 2 of my ranks, but not the 3rd. So I had my tank and DPS were put into bronze 5, even though they were well above that at the end of the last season. And when I tried to rank those up, I got 5 wins, 2 losses, 5 wins, 2 losses, and then another 5 wins and 3 losses for my first set of ranked games. And in this system, they're keeping you you don't get to see your rank, you don't get to see your points. You just, every 5 wins or up to 15 losses, it used to be 7 and 20, you get to see your rank change. So that still really sucks and I hate it. But after those 3 sets of basically 3 rank ups, I was still bronze 5, and my win rate was like over 60%. So it was frustrating as hell. And then for contrast, my support rank went up to silver 3, and I just couldn't understand what was happening again. It's still making me really not want to play the game anymore. I'm hoping that season 5 is going to break this or fix that or something and break me out of that bronze 5 category. But from my whole time playing this game, this rank system has been a plague, and the only thing that's keeping me in it now is the competitive game. So now that they're no longer doing the PVE, I really have nothing to keep me wanting to play this game, except that it's still a really fun game. The gameplay of it is still really fun. And the sunken cost. I've invested so many hours in this, I just don't want to give it up and go play any other kind of multiplayer game where I'm not going to be as good, even though I'm not that great in Overwatch, at least as far as my rank is concerned.